Hi, and welcome to ConfigMas Day 10, our month-long user group party. Can't believe it's Day 10. Time's flying when you're having fun, right?
Yes, indeed.
I'm Amy.
I'm Johan.
Today we're talking about something super duper shiny, and that is...
Config Manager OSD troubleshooting.
Yay!
So a follow-up from yesterday's MDT Light Touch troubleshooting, but now we are scaling up a little bit in a number of nodes and of course using Config Manager as the platform. And most organizations, when they do OSD, they use Pixie because it's simply no fun at all running around with USB sticks or, God forbid, OSD drives or CD drives. OSD drives, that's a new one.
Yeah.
Anyhow, Pixie is the preferred way, absolutely. But sometimes it can be a little bit challenging negotiating and that terms with the network department.
Yeah, it can be challenging. And I need to interject with a quiz because you quizzed me the other day.
I did, yes.
So people love Pixie.
Yes.
They love it so much, in fact, that they tend to spin up multiple Pixie servers.
They
for $1 million. Why, Johan, should technicians be careful about how many Pixie servers they spin up at any given location?
Simple as that. If they're on the same subnet, they will fight. And the one that responds the quickest fastest will win. And
yes.
That's no fun. And I actually have a story about that.
Okay.
I was out working in Phoenix, Arizona a few years back, helping a customer. And Pixie worked great on every VLAN but one.
Okay.
And like, it has to be something different because obviously the servers were working on the other VLANs. We know that was right. And usually when you have a Pixie problem, it is not your fault. It's the networking team's fault, usually. Can be your fault, but usually it's not. So in this case, I asked the networking team, is something different on this network? Absolutely not. It's configured like everybody else. And all right, what to do? So what I did then was that I brought in a laptop, connected it to that VLAN, and I took a VM that I have. I can show this one as a good example. And what you can do in Hyper-V on the network adapter is that you can set a port mirroring mode, and you can say this one to be a source. And then you can spin up another server, or machine for that matter. And this one you configure to be the destination. So now this server sees everything that client sees. So I did that at this customer. And I convinced them to give me a copy of that trace because this was good demo material. So I used Wireshark at the time, but you can use Netmon, the old one, or the message analyzer, which is gone away, sadly. No support anymore. Very sad. So anyway, Wireshark is good. So I'm going to open that trace that we did for that customer. And as you can see, this was what the trace showed me what's going on. The client's trying to contact a config manager server named phxaltiris01. Was that a config manager DP? Nope.
That is probably for Altiris.
Yes. So it was a 10-year-old Altiris server they forgot about. That was just humming along in the corner. But how would you know without doing like a network trace? I would never find out. So the network team were right. They had done the switches correct, but they forgot about that little machine. So anyway, so for Config Manager, when you troubleshoot Pixie, go back to my Config Manager server for a bit. Not that one. I have many, so I need to go to the right one. Where did you go, my friend? Here we go, next to each other. So in the log file or log folder for every DP, in this case I have a DP on my side server as well, there is this friendly little log file, SMS Pixie log. That's the one you want to look in when troubleshooting why a given client couldn't do a Pixie boot. Usually it means you forgot to enable the boot image for Pixie, or you have deployed another sequence later, so it starts with a different boot image or whatever. But you often can see what's going on by reviewing this log file here.
How often do you have to go to that log file when you're troubleshooting?
Every now and then.
Okay.
Quite often, quite frequently. Another trick that I'm being asked a lot is, what about performance when you do Pixie boots? Because sometimes it takes forever. And for that, we need a Jürgen. Swedish fellow, ccmexec.com. It's his website, not xe.com. That's a different process. If you search for TFTP on this website, Jürgen apparently has too much time on his hand, because at one point when he was probably, again, too much time, he took a few of his machines where he was working and a stopwatch, and he tried every possible combination of block size and window size for TFTP and timed them to how long they took. So here are the default type configurations where you see we have download times in minutes. But by tweaking them, we are actually down in download times in seconds rather than minutes. And here is usually a sweet spot. I will say this one right here. An 8K block size and a 2 window size is like a good starting point that will work with most hardware, even some older stuff. So that was Pixie. And like Light Touch, we also have log files. They are in different locations than Light Touch. So this is my little screen from yesterday. So CM OSD troubleshooting. The log files will be in here in the very beginning. And they're going to be there for a few minutes, and then eventually we'll find them moving over to the hard drive as soon as the sequence is able to format the hard drive. And then at some point the machine is going to reboot, and eventually it's going to install the ConfigMas client. And when it does, you will find the log file in that location and in this little tiny, again, subfolder. And in the very end of everything, that folder is going to be deleted and the log files are going to be moved up one level to this location. Like with Light Touch yesterday, these are client side, but by modifying this little variable that also works in Config Manager when you have the MDT integration, you can get them server side as well. The monitoring feature that I showed you yesterday for Light Touch, where you can use Dart to remote into a box, also works with Config Manager, but I don't like the implementation. Because when you do that in Config Manager, it looks like this. You create a new boot image, give it a little source, test, give it a name, test, platform, and here you can specify that you want to have Dart available for remote connection. Now, in Config Manager, you cannot remote in until like 2 minutes after a sequence has started. What if I want to remote in to select a sequence, or to type in the Pixie password, or just troubleshoot something in the boot image? I can't do that. So what I did was I revived an old blog post of mine.
Completely unsupported, I imagine.
Probably. So back in 2011, I figured out how to add this to Config Manager, 2007 at the time.
Yeah.
This is way before they had it in the product. But that still works. So the trick is to simply get a little PowerShell script. Very complicated. In the beginning of the script, you tell it what boot image you want to modify. You tell it where you install Dart. You tell it where you have installed MDT. And you tell it where you downloaded this script. You run the script. Well, you need to specify this also. You run the script and it adds those components to the boot image in a way so when it actually starts. Where did it go? That's not the one. Here. It starts right away, even before you type in the password for Pixie. So very shiny.
Very nice.
Yeah. So that was just little tidbits around troubleshooting Config Manager OSD, as usual. Questions in the comments below, and thank you guys for watching.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.